Two-step inequalities. Okay, so we're gonna be solving and graphing two-step inequalities. So here's what we're gonna do. Um, we're gonna solve each solution. So solve the inequality and graph the solution. I have a question, and it's a question spawned by a question that came up that I didn't really address last time we were doing this, or we were solving one-step inequalities. Someone put up a question and I meant to address it, but you get so involved in things I forgot. But I'd like to answer it now, or maybe have you answer it. The question was, why do we graph so much when we do solve inequalities? Why do we do those number line graphs? Why do you think that's done a lot? We didn't do it too much when we were solving equations, right? I didn't ask you to make a number line graph when we solved an equation. Why do you think we do it now that we solve inequalities? Tell me in the chat, why do you think we do that? Why am I going to have you make a number line graph showing the solution set? I'll give you a hint. It has to do with when we have an answer to an inequality, how many numbers are part of the answer in an inequality? So say our answer is x is greater than 7. How many numbers are part of the answer? What do you think? Not one, not two. Let's see, greater than 7. So it could be 8, it could be 9, it could be 10, it could be 11, it could be 11.2. There's an infinite number of answers. Think about that. And how can you show an infinite number of answers? One way is with a number line graph. Next year, when we get into Algebra 1, we're going to show you other ways of showing an infinite number of answers. Okay, but let's get started. Okay, so let's just say we have a simple two-step equation. 5n plus 2 is less than or equal to 17. Okay, go ahead and write that down. So we're going to solve this. Okay, we're going to solve it as if it were any other equation, just like an equation. Tell me the steps. What do I do first? If I want to solve this showing the transformations like we normally do when we solve equations, what would I do to get n by itself? Very good. First step, get rid of the 2, someone said. Since it's adding 2, we'll subtract it. Okay? Okay, I didn't divide by a negative, so I leave this the same. And then that's 15. Okay? Now I have 5 times n is less than or equal to 15. I want to get rid of that 5. Divide it away. Okay? And Didn't divide by a negative, so it stays less than or equal to. 15 divided by 5 is 3. N is less than or equal to 3. Another way to say this is all real numbers less than or equal to 3. So now we want to show where the answers are. So I'll put 3, that's kind of the start of the show. And we're going to make a number line graph for this. Okay, so if I want to make a number line graph here, at 3, I want to show that that's part of the solution because it's equal to. Okay, we want to put in a solid point, and then it's anything smaller. So any number here on into the negatives would be a solution. Anything there, I could replace n with any one of those numbers and it would work. Okay, that's why we make a number line graph. It's a visual representation of our solutions. Okay, any questions? Okay, ready for another one? Give me a B or a D if you're ready to go on to number 2. Okay, let's do it. Let's do 39 is less than or equal to, again, 3 plus 9x. Okay, help me out here. What do I do? What do I do now? I want to get x by itself. Tell me the first step, guys. I'm looking to solve this. Yeah, get rid of the constant first. Remember the rules for solving two-step inequalities or equations. Get rid of the constant first, then divide or multiply. Okay? In general, that's what we do, and that's what we're going to do on this one. We'll get rid of this 3 with a negative 3 on both sides of the inequality. So that's what? 36 is less than or equal to 9 times x. All right. So now, what do I do next? Divide by 9. I agree. That would cancel the 9. And then, no worries, Jaime. Um, so what's that? 4? 4 is less than or equal to x. So 4 is the star of the show. Now, excuse me, need some help here. Okay, thank you, Hamilton. This is a little confusing, right? I want all real numbers that would make this true. Okay, Hamilton has a good point, and this is what I would do. Whenever I see my variable, once I get my answer and I see the variable on the right, like this 4 is less than or equal to x, I want to flip this inequality. This is an answer, this is a correct answer, but then I want to turn it over and make it x is greater than or equal to 4. Okay, this is a better version of the answer because it's more descriptive when we're graphing now. Now I know that the answer is 4 and all real numbers greater than 4. Everything that way. Both of these tell me to graph the same way. This one's a little more descriptive. Okay? Any questions? Oh gosh, got a phone call. Hello? Hello? Hello, yes. Yes. Okay, sure. Bye. Alexa, uh, you need to go to the attendance office. You're gonna go home. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Alrighty. So, any questions so far? All right. Let's try this one. Number 3. All right. So let's do the following one. 9 minus x is greater than 10. 9 minus x is greater than 10. Any questions? Okay, what do I do first? Tell me what I should do first here. Ooh, that's a good question. I want to get rid of 9. What kind of number is 9 by itself? I know there's subtraction involved, but the number 9 in and of itself, take a look. It's positive. I want to undo that, remove it. So even though it's subtraction, the number itself is positive, so I would put a negative or a minus 9. Okay? Yeah, we subtract 9. Okay? And then bring down the minus or negative x is greater than 1. Okay, so now we want to solve this because I'm not quite done yet. I can't really say that that's my final answer. I don't want negative x is greater than 1. Hi. She just went up to the attendance office. Yeah. Hmm? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of this. What do we do to get rid of that negative? We've done this before. I don't want negative x, I just want x. I'll give you a hint. I can always put a 1 there. So what would get rid of that? It's -1 times x, guys. Yeah, you could think of it as dividing by -1. That would cancel here. There's one catch though. I did divide by a negative, so I'm going to circle that. Whenever I divide or multiply by a negative, I circle the inequality. That's a clue telling me to flip it. It has to be a less than. And this is -1. So my answer is x is less than -1. Okay. So there's my number line. And this time I want an open point because -1 isn't part of the answer. And it's all numbers this way. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So you got to be careful with that, remember? Okay, let's try another one like that. Okay, try this one. -2x minus 17 is less than or equal to -5. Oh, thank you. I did a little boo-boo on the numbering here. Let's fix that. There we go. Thank you. Okay, let's continue here. What are we going to do first? Let's get rid of the minus 17 by adding. Okay, so we've got -2 times x is less than or equal to 12. Now we want to get rid of this -2 that we're multiplying. So there's a catch though. We divided by a negative. Circle this. x is greater than or equal to negative 6. So basically we want all real numbers greater than or equal to negative 6. Okay, so at negative 6 is a solid point, and then we want all numbers greater than that. So everything like this. Okay, any questions? Okay, let's try another one. Moving right along. Let's try this. X divided by 2 minus 5 is greater than negative 11. Okay, what do we do first? Add a 5. Okay, so I got x divided by 2, or x halves, is greater than negative 6. What do I do next? Multiply by 2. Question, do I have to circle my inequality? Okay, Sophia says no. Why not? I see a negative, and I'm multiplying, but I didn't multiply by a negative. If you divide or multiply by a negative, then you do that. This case, we don't. So we get x is greater than negative 12. Okay, so let's see what we want. This time we don't have an equal to part, so it's an open point. And we want all numbers greater than that, like so. Any questions? Okay. All right, ready to try another one? Okay, so here we go. Number 6. Negative x fifths plus 6 is greater than negative 3. Negative x fifths plus 6 is greater than negative 3. All right, guys, what do we do? Tell me. Take away the 6 with a minus 6 or negative 6. Okay. I'm going to bring down negative x fifths is greater than negative 9. Okay. Now, what do we do now? I got negative x fifths is greater than negative 9. I want to get x by itself. And I don't want a negative x. I'm going to multiply. Multiply by what, though? Ooh, that's a good question. 5 or negative 5? 5 or negative 5? Okay. Katrin says negative 5. Other people say 5, though. Let me see. If I multiply by a positive 5, I would have a positive times a negative. What's a positive times a negative? Negative. If I multiply by a negative 5, then I'll have a negative times a negative. What's a negative times a negative? Positive. I want to end up with a positive, right? So I want to multiply this by something on both sides that would end up with positive x. So since this is negative, I want to multiply by a negative as well. Because a negative times a negative is a positive x. This would cancel with this. The negatives cancel as well. But since I multiplied by a negative, guess what? You flip the inequality. Okay? By the way, there's no rule that says I have to count by ones. I could count by fives if I wanted to. Let's see, we want x is less than 45. So open point here. And we want all numbers smaller than 45. Like so. Any questions? How is this? How do you guys feel about this? We're taking it nice and slow because I want to make sure there's no confusion here. Goodish. I like that. Goodish. How do you feel about this? I feel goodish. Goodish is better than baddish, right? Okay. Ready for some more? I got to go on to the next page, though. I want to do a few more. Give me a B or a D if you're ready to try the next few. Let's do it then. Okay, number 7. Let's do 50 is less than or equal to 8 minus 6x. Excuse me. Okay, so now what what are we going to do now? Suggestions. What should we do? Take away the 8. Negative 8. Okay, so that's what? 42 is less than or equal to negative 6x. Now what do we do? Divide by negative 6. I'm going to circle that. So what do we get? Well, definitely negative 6 divided by negative 6. How about 42 divided by negative 6? Get negative 7. Got to flip this. So I get negative 7 is greater than or equal to x. Okay. One suggestion is flip this. Turn the whole thing over. Again, the variable's on the right. I prefer it on the left, so I'm going to turn it over as if it were a pancake. Right, flip it this way, and I end up with x is less than or equal to negative 7. Now I feel confident graphing that. Oops. Ah, I knew I was going to do that at least once. The greater numbers. There we go. Okay. So I want negative 7 and all the numbers lower than that. Any questions? So here we had to divide by a negative, which causes to flip the inequality symbol. And then at the end, we just turned over the whole inequality to help us graph it. We had to flip 2 times. We divided by a negative. Remember, anytime you divide by a negative, yeah, so let's recap. The first flip happened here because we divided by -6. That's why I circled it. And I had to flip the inequality symbol. The second time we turned over the whole inequality sign because, well, I would rather have it this way. It helps me figure out, it's easier for me to visualize how to graph it. Okay, I knew that that would be an issue or a question people would have, so that's why we're going to try this one, the next one. Okay, ready? Here we go. Mm. All right, let's try this one. -8 is greater than -x thirds minus 2. So add 2. And -8 take away 2 is -6 is greater than -x thirds. Okay, so now what do? I got -6 is greater than -x thirds. Multiply by -3. Again, I know I got to multiply, but the only thing that would cancel the negative is another negative. And because of that, I circle this. Whenever I multiply or divide, I just automatically circle. That's a visual cue. Don't forget to flip the inequality sign symbol. Okay? So now let's see here. Negative times a negative, that's a positive. Flip this. These cancel. I'm left with x. So that was one flip. I flipped the inequality symbol. Now I have to flip the whole inequality if I want to get a better idea of how to graph it. You do not have to do this step. This one is optional. You're rewriting the answer a different way. And all it does is tells me, I turn it over. Another way to say 18 is less than x is to say x is greater than 18. Okay? Now I know it's an open point and all numbers greater than that. Okay, any questions? All right. What do you think? Are you ready to try a few of these on your own? Okay. So if you have all the notes, let me know. Give me a B or a D if you've taken all the notes, you're happy with this. All right. Okay, we'll stop.